back to this channel. So in the last class we have started how to find the domain of any function. So in today's class I want to explain how you can determine the domain of a function if the square root is the denominator. For example, if we have f of x to be equal to 1 divided by square root of 25 minus x squared. Now you can see that this x squared, square root of 25 minus x squared is the denominator of this function. And for every function to be defined, if it is a fraction, like we have g of x divided by h of x, if f of x is equal to g of x divided by h of x, this h of x must not be equal to 0. And I still told you that if we have square root of any expression, the square root of expression, if it is in denominator form, this one, the expression, this expression inside it must be greater than or equal to 0. Now that is in the denominator form, it cannot be equal to 0 for this function to be defined. That means if we have 1 over square root of any expression, this expression must be strictly greater than 0. The expression must be greater than 0. So we have to avoid those numbers that will make this square roots of this expression to be equal to 0. We have to avoid them. So what do we need to do now? We have to write this 25 minus x squared, then it has to be greater than 0 because it's in form of denominator. Now this is a difference of two squares. 5 minus x multiplied by 5 plus x must be greater than 0. So the next thing is that we have to draw a number line. We have done this one before. Are you with me? If you are not with me, you can check my previous videos. So we have minus 5 here and we have 5 here. We have positive infinity here. We have negative infinity here. Pick any number in between minus 5 and negative infinity. So let's say we pick minus 6. So when x is equal to minus 6, let's substitute it inside this expression. So we have 5 minus 6 multiplied by 5 minus 6. So this one gives positive, that is 11, positive. 5 minus 6 gives negative. Positive multiplied by negative gives negative. So any number that I pick in between minus 5 and minus infinity will always give me negative after plugging them inside this expression. So I'm going to avoid any number in between minus 5 and minus infinity because I want my expression inside the square root to be positive and it has to be greater than 0. So let's take any number in between minus 5 and 5. So let's say we pick 4. So when x is equal to 4, then this expression becomes 5 minus 4 multiplied by 5 plus 4. So greater than 0. So I have 1 which is positive. I have 9 which is positive. Positive multiplied by positive gives me positive. So in between minus 5 and 5 gives positive answer. So in between 5 and in positive infinity, let's pick positive 6. So when x is equal to 6, we have 5 minus 6 multiplied by 5 plus 6. It has to be greater than 0. So this one gives me negative answer, minus 1. This one gives positive. Negative multiplied by positive gives negative answer. So here, so which one am I avoiding? I'm avoiding those ones that I'll put inside this expression and give me negative answer. And I'm still avoiding those ones that are, after substituting them inside, this expression, it will give me 0. That means I'm avoiding everything here to this side, and I'm avoiding everything starting from -5 till this side. So if I now want to write my domain, so I'll write the domain of f of x has -5, 5. This means that 5 is not included, and -5 is not included, and 5 is also not included. But all other numbers in between this -5 and 5, they can be plugged in inside this expression, and my expression will be valid. It will be defined. So I do not need -5 and 5, but I can have 4.9, 4 points until I get to -4.9. So I can plug in those numbers, but I cannot plug in -5 and 5 inside this expression, because if I plug in -5, I'll have 1 divided by 0. If I plug in +5, I will still have 1 divided by 0. And I want my function to be defined, so I have to avoid any number that will give me 0 and will still give me square root of negative answer. So that is how to find the domain of any function when the square root is a denominator. Example 2. Find the domain of f of x equal to 1 divided by square root of 9 minus x squared. Here also, for f of x to be defined, then I have to avoid some numbers, that is those x. Now here 9 minus x squared must be greater than 0. So this is also difference of two squares, which is 3 minus x multiplied by 3 plus x. So they have to be greater than 0. So draw a number line, negative infinity, then positive infinity. So I'm avoiding 3 and -3. So if I avoid those numbers, there may be some other numbers that if I plug them in, it will make my function to be defined. So I have to look for those numbers. Then I have to look for those numbers that if I plug them in, it will make my function to be undefined. So I have to avoid those. Then go for those that will make my function to be defined. So in order to find that one, I have to plug in any number in between -3 and negative infinity. I have to check whether I need those numbers or not. So let's pick x to be equal to -4, because -4 is there. So 3 minus -4 multiplied by 3 minus 4 greater than 0. This one will give me positive answer, that is 7, and this one give me negative answer. So positive multiplied by negative gives negative answer. So in between -3 and 3, let's take 2 or 0, any number. Let's take 0, it will make our work easier. So 3 minus 0, you can pick any number, but we can quickly do this one in your head. You do not need all this one, so just make sure you go through it. So this one will give me positive, multiplied by this one will also give me positive. So I have positive and I have negative here. So in between 3 and positive infinity, what should we take? So let's pick 5. So 3 minus 5 multiplied by 3 plus 5 must be greater than 0. So this one gives me -2, then multiplied by 8, and I want it to be greater than 0. So this one gives me -16, which is less than 0. It's not greater than 0, so I have to avoid that. So This one gives me negative. That means I have to go for those that will give me positive. And I have to avoid those ones that will give me 0 and those numbers that are -3 and +3. So my domain D of F will now be equal to -3. So, or you can just say that domain of this function is -3 less than x, then this one less than 3. So -3 less than x, x less than 3. So that's how to find the domain of any function if the square root is the denominator. So here is another example. So for f of x to be defined, that means the expression inside the square root must be greater than 0. So let's see what happens. X squared minus 4 must be strictly greater than 0. So x minus 2 multiplied by x plus 2 must be greater than 0. So use the number line. Use the number line, negative infinity, positive infinity. Oh, you know, this one will give us x to equal to plus 2, so we have plus 2 here. This one will give us x is equal to -2, so we have -2 here. Now, let's now look for number in between. We know that we cannot put -2 and 2 there because it will give us 0, and we are avoiding those numbers that will give us 0 and those numbers that will give us negative answers. So in between -2 and negative infinity, let's take -3. So when x is equal to -3, we have -3. We have to substitute it inside this expression. -3 minus 2 multiplied by -3 plus 2 must be greater than 0. So -3 minus 2 gives -5. Then multiplied by -3 plus 2 gives -1. So it must be greater than 0. So -5 multiplied by -1 gives +5. And it is strictly greater than 0. So anything I pick in between -2 and negative infinity will always give me positive answer for this expression. So when x is equal to, so let me take any number in between -2 and 2 and see what will happen. So let's take 0. So we have 0 minus 2 multiplied by 0 plus 2 must be greater than 0. So I have -2 multiplied by +2. Is it greater than 0? This one gives me -4, which is not greater than 0. So anything in between here, I'm not going for any number in between -2 and 2. And even -2 and 2 themselves. So let me take any number in between 2 and positive infinity. So when x is equal to 5, any number, just pick any number in between 2 and positive infinity. So substituting it here, we have 5 minus 2 multiplied by 5 plus 2 must be greater than 0. So I have 3, that is plus 3, then I have plus 7. So it's greater than 0 because this one gives me plus 21 and this is greater than 0. That means any number here is greater than 0. So let's write our domain of this function. D of f now will be any number from negative infinity till inside this -2. Then union 2, then comma positive infinity. What this means is that I cannot include -2 and I cannot include positive 2. And those numbers inside minus 2 and positive 2. So I can only pick any number in between negative 2 to negative infinity. Then I can still pick any number in between positive 2 and positive infinity. So those are the 3 examples I have for you today. So if you still want me to solve more, just drop it in the comment section. So till I see you in the next class, we're going to do how to find range of a function. So till I see you in the next class, thank you. God bless you. Bye bye.